Salam and peace. Our topic today is some tips and guides about how to do education and parenting during the pandemic. But I cannot bring myself to talk about that topic unless I discuss those people who have no possibility of any education. It was 3 years today when Burmese government started attacking, military invading essentially Uyghur people who are indigenous people living in their ancestral land. They were there before even Burman race came into being there. And they were thrown out, killing, attacks, arson, burning, raping women and children. This morning, I was on a panel with a lady I met multiple times. Her name is Shafiqa. She wants her story to be known. Her baby was snatched by military soldiers, little baby from her lap. And repeatedly her skull was smashed by throwing on the stone. They ran to Bangladesh, 1 million of them. They're not allowed to have any education beyond 3rd grade as a policy of a government. Wherever they go, one thing they're denied is education. And Burma also, before the genocide, for years, they will not allow to get into school. Even in 40 years ago, 50 years ago, my neighbor who briefed me about Burma has an engineering degree from Burma, but he literally walked hundreds of miles to get to Pakistan. And from there, he came 40 years to America and is a successful businessman here. So education is being denied as an instrument of genocide. So when we talk about our education and pandemic, and we are worried about what's happening in America, whether there will be in a school or there will be at home, are there enough computers, are there enough internet available? 40% of people who have income in America, 30,000 or below, which is poverty rate in America, do not have the facility of internet and computers and all of that. So we need to thank God Almighty for what He has blessed us. With peace, we struggle for justice. Security, our children with us. Thank God for all of that. But how do we deal with that in the countries where there is a possibility of education? To discuss that today, we have two experts from Sound Vision. Sound Vision is the organization which has started Muslim Network TV, which you're watching. Muslim Network TV is always there on Galaxy 19 satellite. And muslimnetwork.tv, our own website, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Roku, and a whole lot of social media. We created that. And two experts from our own organization will be with us. First is Zahira Appard. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much for sparing your time on a short notice. Zahira Appard is a director of religious education at Sound Vision. She's working on developing high-quality Islamic children's programming. She was previously a principal of a large Islamic weekend school in Maryland. And with us also is Samana Siddiqui. Assalamu alaikum. Samana Siddiqui has been the content manager of Sound Vision since 1999. She has written extensively about Muslim family life, parenting, education, and personal development. Well, I hope both of you are doing well and will be able to Nourish people. Yesterday, I saw Sound Vision newsletter came out, and it is a guide about education and parenting during the pandemic. I mean, I saw the challenges which you're handling in those articles. I saw Samana talking about the concern about excessive screen time. Good luck talking about that because the schools are coming through screen and everything is coming screen. So timing probably is right, but how is it possible to watch out for the screen time? Was it already a concern?
Definitely. This is something that parents, especially, but also educators and child development experts have been saying for several years that children are spending too much time online. It's affecting their health, not just physically, but mentally as well. So this is something that we were grappling with even before we all went into lockdown and children were doing schooling online. So these are things that when we wrote about them for this week's update, we consulted different experts, people who are parents themselves, of course, but also educators who have recommended different things that parents can do to ensure that the kids get a balance instead of just being on the screen all day, because it's going to be more time this year than before.
Well, but don't you think it is almost an impossible task because children are required to be on class? Suppose it's not a 8 hour class, is 5 or 6 hours, and let's talk about that also. But at the same time, children learn not by listening to us, by watching us. We're spending so much amount of time on a screen. I mean, I'm sick and tired of a screen. Trust me on this. But what are the choices? So, Zahira, I mean, you're working from home and you're probably spending good amount of time on a screen. How do you think we can guide children to understand that it is necessary for us, but it is harmful for them?
So I think it's interesting that you open the program by talking about people who don't even have access to education. We know that a law puts challenges in front of us that are tests at all times. And so it's no coincidence that the Rohingya have their own test and we have our own test now too. And it's a huge test for the entire family. Remember, in some of these families, the parents are working from home also. And that's a new and different situation. I think that we have to constantly engage in assessing what's going on in order to find new and different ways to flex with it. Some of our articles that we posted this week had to do with social and emotional learning, with the importance of play, with parents being coaches and recognizing that kids are watching them not only by what they say, but also what they do. So it's a huge charge. And we don't even know, in March, when we first went into lockdown, we weren't sure how long this would last. We weren't imagining that the fall we would be in the position of most children now being distance learning, most colleges and universities even being distance learning. So we have to flex. We have to, as Samana mentioned, look to experts for information and also watch our children, listen to what their own struggles are. This is kind of new territory for everyone.
Well, I sort of remember that screen time, iPhone came up with the app for even an adult to watch how much time you have already spent on a screen. So, Samana, you have come up with some ideas. I mean, one of the best things which I ever received against my tax money was one when State of Illinois Secretary of State sent me a letter when my eldest son was about to get driving license, or maybe he got the driving license, that no matter what you tell your children, they are not going to listen to you. They will watch how you drive. The way you drive is what they're going to copy. My dilemma is still that, Samana, how do we communicate with children that this is necessary, but we need to still watch out?
Well, like what Sister Zahra said and what you were saying, it's all about parenting and being a good role model. And one of the things that both of you mentioned about the challenges that the Rohingya Muslims are facing and what it's compared to what we're going through right now, they're challenges, they're obstacles, but they're also challenges in the sense that they open us to different ways of seeing and doing things. So one of the suggestions that when I interviewed the different experts I did for the article I wrote about managing screen time, they all said unanimously, like, we need to encourage outdoor time with our kids. And outdoor time is not just, okay, go out and play, which of course is one level, kids need to do that, but we ourselves have to be part of that too, because we need outdoor time as adults as well. So planning all types of family outings, which we may have done before, maybe in a planned or unplanned way, but we need to do that a lot more this year, this school year. I was thinking, for example, one thing that I've always wanted to do with my kids in winter, because in winter we usually all hibernate, here in Chicago at least, and older places. So we don't really do, there's so many things to do in the winter, even sledding, tobogganing, skiing, all things that we have never tried before. This is the year to do it. This is the school year to make an effort as a family, not just as telling our children to go off and then we're sitting on our phones, but we're doing it with them, because part of it is the family togetherness aspect of it. That we are, like you mentioned, that alhamdulillah, we are safe and together, and we don't have a situation where we're separated because of war or genocide. We're together, and that is a tremendous blessing, and we need to use that time, because next year, inshallah, maybe we won't be in lockdown. I hope we won't be. But at the same time, we won't have necessarily that level of family togetherness that we are experiencing this year right now.
So excuse me, Samana. I like how you were talking about opportunity in the challenge. And one of the things that we also have to be mindful of is that children usually got outside time at school during the day with recess, or they got more time to socialize. That was just downtime for them. So in this distance, we have to make those times in a very direct manner, a very conscious manner. But we also have to remember about safety, because just going to a playground now poses all kinds of challenges. We need to wear masks. We need to be careful of how the hands touch thing and washing hands. And so there's again, even going outside has a level of challenge with it that is new and different for all of us.
What about also you were talking about activities other than the screen activities. So what about learning activities like, if possible, Sister Zaira, what about raising some chickens and doing some gardening, things like that?
So he knows I have chickens, so alhamdulillah. They're all kinds.
No, I'm not coming to your home to demand them, but what about things? I mean, these are learning things, right?
Definitely.
And children have become so disconnected that milk no longer comes from a cow. Milk comes from a box in a grocery store. So connecting, I mean, the idea of difficulty, but some ease and some other new type of learning.
So absolutely learning outside of the textbook is what children naturally and organically do. If we think about how they learn to walk, if we think about how they learn to talk and even use their own bodies, this is organic learning. They match their own developmental milestones with what they have to explore in front of them. And so you can take many different daily functions and learn a tremendous amount from them. You can use a cooking, and we all need to cook. We need to eat breakfast. We need to eat lunch and dinner in our homes. Those can be opportunities for math lessons with fractions, with chemistry lessons with the combination of ingredients and the addition of heat and things like that. We just have to think about learning outside of the box and outside of the classroom. And these two things go together.
One thing which I learned, which is absolutely out of box, is the one masjid, one community, has started collective cooking in the mosque, and the food goes out to all the homes which are connected with the mosque. So people have less burden of cooking and more working with children and things like that. I mean, that's a very extreme, but I was shocked and surprised that somebody thought about it. And in there, they're saying those people who do not have, who lost job and all that, they don't pay. So people who have jobs, they're contributing. And nobody knows what is going on with other people. I mean, people are coming up. But going back to that screen time, Samana, you have several tips in that regard. Would you like to share some?
The tips that were offered. So one was, of course, more outside time. And then a couple of the parents who I interviewed, and it ties into what Sister Zahira was saying about the ideas that Sister Zahira was presenting are very much in line with homeschooling, which I know, Sister Zahira, you've done with your own children. And I did a couple of years of homeschooling. She was thinking outside the box. So, for example, one mother who is also a teacher in a Montessori, what she does with her own children, she said once school time is over, like let's say 3:30 or 3 o'clock, they're done with school, there's no more computer for the rest of the day at all. No devices whatsoever. So the kids will do other things, like she's already planned things like cooking, baking, going outside and doing whatever they want to do, like different, she had things planned. So timing the screen time. So once school is over, screen time is over. So this is how some parents are managing it as well. And then of course the issue of outdoor time, which you both addressed. There was also one concern that was raised was about pornography and inappropriate content, because the reality is, in the statistic, I was actually quite surprised, 34% of internet users have experienced unwanted exposure to pornography. So our children, we need to be very careful. It's not enough to just block pornography with devices. We need to be looking over their shoulders, not because we don't trust them, but simply because it's about what pops up inadvertently. You can be on YouTube, but then there will be several different things on the side which are completely inappropriate, might be inappropriate or unrelated, and then they lead from one thing to another. So watching out for that is very important. And then limiting the screen time, like I said, limit it to just school time. Plan activities. Parents have to be, like you said, Sister Zahra, conscious, be intentional about doing things outside that don't involve the screen, and being good role models. You know, our parents, one mother I spoke to, she said that she's going to make a rule that kids cannot have any devices in their bedrooms at night because it affects their sleep. And also there's a more possibility of inadvertent browsing of inappropriate content. So, and then parents can also follow that role model as well. They can say, okay, well, we're all going to put our phones or devices in the hallway at night before we go to sleep. So nobody has a device. So it's fair. And the kids are learning from their parents, and parents are learning to regulate their own situation. So those were some of the suggestions that were given by the people I interviewed.
Zahira, you have inadvertently contributed to English language, a term which you need to copyright. You say thinking out of text box. I really like that. And that is one of the things probably we'll learn from this. You're watching Muslim Network TV. This is Imam Malik Mujahid. I'm talking with Zahra Apart and Samana Siddiqui, both with Sound Vision content developer and educators. We will be right back after these messages.
What was it like when you started this network out, when you started Sound Vision those many years ago?
You know, after 9/11, one lady called me and she says, what is your channel which I can watch? And I say, I'm sorry, we don't have a channel. And you know what she said? She said, then how America will know about you?
SubhanAllah. Anything you want to say to the people who are watching? We had one sister who messaged that she grew up on Sound Vision. What do you say to the people who have been long supporters?
Thank you. Thank you. It is because of you we are able to do all of that. So the generation of Adam's World, you need to take it over for the next generation. And that's my invitation to you. To keep telling everybody where to watch. They can watch it on Galaxy 19 satellite, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, or easy thing, muslimnetwork.tv, or our YouTube channel, or our Facebook channel. And with your help, inshallah, ladies, the one who called me, what channel should I watch Muslims on? Answer is here and now.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, it's your brother Zain Bika from South Africa. One of the first educational programs ever produced for Muslim children was the ever popular Adam's World series. The colorful and comical Muslim puppets stole the heart of a generation. Sound Vision will be releasing brand new episodes of Adam's World with the launch of a Adam's World app. Subscribers will enjoy new Adam's World episodes as they are released, as well as all the classic episodes of Adam's World. So visit adamsworldapp.com now to learn more, subscribe, and enjoy new adventures of Adam and his friends. And let's keep helping tomorrow's Muslims today. Assalamu alaikum.
It's Adam's World. Believe me, there's a lot to see. Bismillah, let's explore.
Welcome back to Muslim Network TV. This is Imam Malik Mujahid, and I'm talking with Zahra Leopard and Samana Siddiqui. So we talk about the screen time, but those people who are not homeschoolers, they don't know etiquettes of homeschoolers. They don't want to be homeschoolers, but they are forced in a situation that they need to learn homeschooling 101. I mean, on a fast pace, if they haven't learned that yet. And sort of maybe some type of hybrid education system is coming into being with some screen time, some street time meaning out of text box learning, and some of the traditional homeschooling. So one of the things which I noticed in Sister Zahra Eppert, which you have mentioned, that scheduling. I mean, you have given a sample schedule in your article, so kind of you, because one of the earliest thing which I was saying, how people work from home, and how it will come out. So people very early in April, there were articles. So one of the article by an astronaut, that how you're in space by yourself and how do you deal with it, was developing a schedule, developing a routine. So would you like to share that tip which you have shared with people?
I think there are a lot of different things. One of the things that Sister Samana's article identified as a term that I thought was very spot on was that parents are crisis educators right now, that they are having to learn new skills, having to attend to things in a different way. And scheduling is another huge area where there is a ton of anxiety. How do we organize the day? Remember, most of us have been traditionally educated. We've gone to school. We followed a routine schedule that was the same every day. We relied on someone else to organize that. That's not really the case anymore. Even in the instances where kids are associated with schools, there is sometimes a lot of assignments that are coming that are not involving the teacher at all. The children are expected to do those assignments themselves. So there is some flexibility. There are two different ways you have to look at it. If you're homeschooling, you look at it one way because you have maximum flexibility. If you're attentive to a school schedule of any sort, be it half-time online learning, in-class learning, you're beholden to then what the teachers and the school systems that you're associated with dictate. So did you want me to talk about homeschooling and the flexibility that offers with scheduling? I can do that.
Yeah, I think, most people are not homeschoolers. Most people are forced to do. If I remember, in Sound Vision is saying that 24 out of 27 largest school districts are not going to be in-person schooling.
20 out of 25. It was 20 out of 25 of the largest school districts in the United States.
So if that is any evidence, majority of these schools will not be doing the physical schooling. Actually, I saw this morning some teacher protesting, how can I teach from my grave? And it just hurt me so deeply because, death is just next door to us, in front of us. And that young teacher saying that she's being forced. So I'm glad in Florida, some judge has given a ruling that state cannot force teacher to teach in this situation when there is no protection. They even don't have any, what they call it, protective equipment with them. So please talk it how this hybrid education should be conceived. Should parents sit down, take time out to actually organize that how much is the schooling through a screen, how much there is schooling, and how much education, you borrowing your inadvertent term, out of text box teaching, how to mix that?
So if they are connected to a school district, they really have to figure out what is being determined by the school district and the teachers that their children are assigned to themselves. And so about now, most people have gotten some information along those lines. You need to sit down too. In many families, there's more than one child, and that means that the schedules can be different for each individual child. This is going to require master organizing skills. There's an app that is a really well-known family organization app called Cozy that I would recommend to all families that are working in this area. You color code the schedules for each family member, and then the entire schedule is in one place. It's a good visual way. You can share it with kids too. Many of the kids even have phones themselves. So everybody can be cognizant of everyone's schedule. That's the first thing that a family has to do. You have to also assess the needs of each family member. Remember, not every student is even the same. Some kids are above grade level expectations. Some are struggling. And so you may need to also, in addition to just keeping up with assignments, you may have to supplement in those areas. And one of the articles I wrote about was supplementing in the area of social and emotional learning. Back to the schedule, you have to look at, if you're a homeschooler or coming into homeschooling as a new family, you have to look at the schedule in component parts. I think the best way to do that is start big, and that is thinking about how the year lays out. Usually there are state requirements about schooling. We have compulsory education in the United States. That means that you have to be either assigned to a school district or homeschooling and complying with the laws related to that. So most jurisdictions require 180 days of schooling throughout the year. Figure out how that works for your family. It's about 36 weeks. Organize it however it makes sense. You are in charge of that when you're homeschooling and not associated with an institution. Then look at how you're going to work on a weekly basis. Are you going to block time for certain subjects? Are you going to toggle back and forth maybe one week to the next about subjects that are more secondary to the nature of your work? And as Muslims, we can definitely organize our learning around prayer time, around also making Quran, Arabic language, Islamic studies an important part of our learning.
I wanted to say something for the parents who are not. I'm sorry. You want to go ahead?
Go ahead.
I wanted to add, this is definitely, I've been on both sides. I've been a homeschooler for a few years, and I'm also now, my children are in full-time school. So I'm kind of seeing it also from how this year my kids are all in school and how they're managing it. And definitely I see the benefits as a homeschooler. I can see how that put me in some ways at an advantage because it gave me that understanding of how much flexibility you really do have in your schedule. But I think the key for parents who are not sending their children, who are not homeschooling their kids, or they're not able to, is sync up your schedule as much as you can. Especially if you're a working parent working from home, anytime. And like Sister Zaira said, prayer is the key. Make prayer the pegs of your schedule. So you can say by 1 o'clock before Dhuhr, we have to be done with this stuff. And then it can be, of course, it will depend on your children's school and teacher, what they're scheduling for that particular day. but you write everything down, put it in that app, Cozy, that you suggested, Sister Zahra, and then post it on the fridge, because a visual reminder is also very good to have it on paper as well, the old-fashioned way. The syncing up is very important, making your schedule around the 5 daily prayers. My children are this year in an Islamic school, so they naturally have that break. But if your children are not, as the majority of Muslim kids in the United States are not, you have a lunchtime, if possible, as much as possible, arranged for the whole family to pray Dhuhr at that time and eat lunch at the same time. So when we I find in my experience as both a homeschooler and a parent who sent her children to school as well, it's syncing up makes things so much more simple, because if you're all praying and eating and studying and working at the same time, it makes it easier for the work to get done. And then I just wanted to add about children who have different learning levels. If you have more than one child, it's very useful. Peer-to-peer teaching is an excellent way for children who are teaching as well to benefit. In fact, it reminds me of a hadith in which Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, said, the best of you are those who learn the Quran and teach it. Because what happens is when somebody teaches, they themselves benefit. They relearn those lessons. They see things from a new perspective. And this is not just with Quran, it's with everything, whether it's cooking or math or science. I see it. I have 5 children. I see it with my own kids. When I don't have time, I just tell the older sibling, he's having trouble with it, she's having trouble with that, you do it. And they themselves kind of refreshes their own learning, and they see things a different way. So as much as possible, so sync up and delegate and make prayer the pegs of your schedule. So I just wanted to add those suggestions.
So anytime I write anything about parenting and education, the one thing I often try to emphasize is that the parent is the first teacher, period. And that is throughout the child's lifetime. You can be good at it, you can be not good at it. They're taking it in, whatever you're giving. And so what Samana has just outlined is the fact that families are in this together. And they need to look at every stage of the process being something that everybody works on together. If a child is included in the planning, for example, they have more ownership in it. They have more accountability to it. They'll be more flexible in working within it. So it's best for parents to tap into the resources that their own kids bring to the table. They know what they like. They know what they struggle with generally. And again, flexibility is key here.
Well, you both are putting a lot of emphasis on parenting. It seems that parents will need to learn several skills. Excuse me. And there's a whole lot parents themselves will have to balance for children's benefit. I mean, I remember attending a conference, which was a very high-tech conference. It was more focused on ideas, and they were very skeptic of traditional public schooling or going to school and learning everything, and they wanted a whole lot of other ideas, and they were demonstrating those ideas. And most of those ideas, just like what you both are saying, involve parenting. If parents are not in charge, if parents are not taking charge, parents are not guiding through, they are not developing a schedule. So it seems that while pandemic has brought a lot of difficulties, one of the things parenting is teaching us to strengthen our families. Our parents becoming a parents. Yeah. Instead of assigning children to school, assigning children to preschool, assigning children to television screen, we will have to become parents. I think this is a very, we should be thankful to God Almighty for this learning opportunity. Muslim, go ahead.
I think this is especially important in terms of Islamic learning because you have to take direct steps to get this information to children. And I was a principal of a very large school, and we often felt like parents came and dropped children and expected a miracle to happen. There was no attention to Islam previously. Now that they were in weekend school, there was going to be attention to Islam. And they expected that to just be, magic of some sort. It's not magic. We have to work on this. We have to work on it all the time. We have to integrate it into our daily lives. And we have to find supplemental support for it. I am working on programming within Sound Vision that is geared toward this. The Adams World Club and the Colors of Islam Club classes are ways of supplementing the knowledge that kids already have or sparking new knowledge in this area of Islamic studies. How do we learn the guidance and implement it in our daily lives? How do we look at every single thing we encounter from an Islamic lens? We have that guidance in front of us. And parents are, again, good teachers in this area. But I think what we're talking about sounds like we're heaping a ton of responsibility on parents. They've always had it. We maybe didn't always acknowledge it, but we've always had that responsibility. I love the hadith that talks about who is the most important, where the Prophet ﷺ was asked, who is the most important person after you, Prophet Muhammad? And he emphasized the mother. He emphasized the mother. He emphasized the mother 3 times. Well, we don't get the kind of reward we get for that kind of responsibility unless we take it, right? We have to take responsibility. We have to take it seriously. We have to do this job, and it's exhausting 24/7 because we don't get a break from it.
I wanted to just add to that. This is a concern a lot of people in all circles, people who are Muslim and not, is the issue of parents' mental health in this pandemic. Because this is something, self-care is so important for parents who are dealing with the situation, because they're holding out a job, and especially working mothers, because there was a study done, a sister I interviewed in Australia, she was saying that in Australia, it was 40% of moms were completely overwhelmed because they were the primary caregiver, whether this was, and this didn't matter if there was single parent, as far as I know, it was single parent, or if there was a married couple. Moms were overwhelmed, especially mothers, but both parents, because you're dealing with not just your own job now, you're dealing with your children's education, which you didn't have to deal with before. So I just wanted, one thing I wanted to mention, and some of the people I interviewed also mentioned, it's very important for parents to do self-care, to get that time away once a week, if it's just once a week, to do something that helps them unwind, helps them relax, to get them away outside of the home in a safe way, whether it's just for a drive, just to do something to keep yourself sane, because this is so important. It's important. Otherwise, you can't, like they say, at the example that's always given is that when you're in an airplane, when you get on an airplane, they always tell you, if you have a child with you, you put your own, if the plane is about something to have a crash or there's an accident about to happen, you put your own mask on first, and then you put your child's, because you're useless to that child if you're not taking care of yourself. And it's the same analogy here. If we don't take care of ourselves as parents, we cannot be the effective educators, in this case, here, effective parents, even if we're not homeschooling per se, even we're just managing their schedule online, managing all the other things that traditional teachers would do most of the day, that's still very stressful. So we need to be very cognizant. Parents need to help each other out. Mothers should give fathers should give mothers a break, and vice versa. Children who are older should take on responsibility so that their parents can get a break. This is very important. This coming year, it's already, we've seen this sort of happen. There have been articles here and there about parental mental health issues and stress. It will be even more so this year. So we need to be very cognizant of it, recognize our own weaknesses and limitations, and help each other out as much as we can, whether it's our spouse, or whether it's another mom or dad who needs help. We need to really build community in this way. And perhaps this is another blessing of this pandemic situation, that we're building stronger families and inshallah better communities as well.
You're watching Muslim Network TV. This is Imam Malik Mujahid, and we're talking with Zahira Eppard and Samana Siddiqui, both with leaders of Sound Vision. And we'll be right back after these messages.
What was it like when you started this network out, when you started Sound Vision those many years ago?
After 9/11, one lady called me and she says, what is your channel which I can watch? And I say, I'm sorry, we don't have a channel. And you know what she said? She said, then how America will know about you?
SubhanAllah. Anything you want to say to the people who are watching? We had one sister who messaged that she grew up on Sound Vision. What do you say to the people who have been long supporters?
Thank you. Thank you. It is because of you we are able to do all of that. So the generation of Adam's world, you need to take it over for the next generation. And that's my invitation to you. So keep telling everybody where to watch. They can watch it on Galaxy 19 satellite, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, or easy thing, muslimnetwork.tv, or our YouTube channel, or our Facebook channel. And with your help, inshallah, ladies, the one who called me, what channel should I watch Muslims on? Answer is here and now.
Open up your eyes.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, it's your brother Zain Beaker from South Africa. One of the first educational programs ever produced for Muslim children was the ever popular Adam's World series. The colorful and comical Muslim puppets stole the heart of a generation. Sound Vision will be releasing brand new episodes of Adam's World with the launch of a Adam's World app. Subscribers will enjoy new Adam's World episodes as they are released, as well as all the classic episodes of Adam's World. So visit adamsworldapp.com now to learn more, subscribe and enjoy new adventures of Adam and his friends. And let's keep helping tomorrow's Muslims today. Assalamu alaikum.
It's Adam's World. Believe me, there's a lot to see. Bismillah. Let's explore.
Welcome back to Muslim Network TV. You're watching Galaxy 19 satellite, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, Roku, as well as our website, muslimnetwork.tv. We're talking about guidelines and tips about education and parenting during the pandemic. And before the break, Samana Siddiqui brought up the issue of taking care of yourself. And if you're not in your best self, it will reflect in frustration on children and things like that. I'm hearing domestic violence is going up during this situation because of people are just unable to do things in a different way. You know, the whole life cycle is disrupted. People are stuck while they're thinking they're stuck, instead of thinking there is the opportunity to relate with each other in a better way. So self-care is very important. Do you think in self-care, it will also be important for people to at least walk and do some exercise, something which people are not doing, even if not needed, even if they are not obese? I mean, do you think these type of things will help in taking care of oneself? Because if they are not feeling well, it will reflect on children, and children know this thing.
I think that we have to look at some resilience research and in this area, because resilience is about looking at a challenge and learning about it, learning from it, and moving forward. And so we can encourage children and parents to be resilient in this area by hitting this area head on. we know that most parents are not trained teachers, right? Most parents don't have education degrees. Expecting them to know exactly the best way to go about teaching, in quotes, children is really not reasonable because they don't know this area. And so if you're anxious about an area, that's going to come across just like you mentioned. You can take timeouts. We've talked about that. You can work on bringing play into the schedule. That means times that all of you can sit down and take a break, right? Every minute doesn't have to be structured. In fact, play is the best done when it's not structured. The most meaningful play as a component part is unstructured, is about just using your imagination and creativity. But with resilience too, I wanted to make sure we emphasize that this is where the concept of the Islamic shura comes into play for the Muslim family. We have to admit our mistakes, our failings, our anxieties, our fears. If we do that, what we do is teach children how to handle those things when they come across them themselves. So if a parent is struggling, or if you have been maybe impatient when you should have been more patient, it's okay. In fact, it's advisable to talk to your children about that. This is what happened. I'm sorry about being impatient. I should have handled it a different way. Let's think about ways that we can avoid this in the future. And working on these kinds of things together. Exercise is something you can work on together. It's still okay for us to go outside and walk, with proper social distancing or masks or whatever. Being outside helps calm us in a lot of different ways, as long as that area is safe.
Go ahead.
I wanted to address the issue of domestic violence because this is something that very early on, this was coming out because China was first hit with it, and there were many cases of domestic violence, which essentially had a rollover effect all over the world. We were seeing this. This didn't matter what culture, what country. This was something consistent. Domestic violence remains a problem during when everybody is in lockdown because so one way to kind of, I think what Sister Zahra was suggesting about taking a walk on your own. Spouses, if you're, when in a situation where you have a couple, very important for spouses to give each other time away from the family, outside the house. Even if the wife just wants to go for a drive, or splitting up errands in a way that, for example, one person does groceries. So, they wear the mask, they make sure they social distance, or they go at a time when there's less people at the store. But even doing that gives each other time away from the house, away from each other, will go a long way in establishing mental health. It will establish a healthier relationship. Because if you're always together, you're going to get on each other's nerves. It's human nature. And couples know this. Couples who've been married a long time know that you need time away. It builds your relationship, makes you stronger. So this is very important. And if there's a situation where, for example, I would advise families where there's extended family living together. So you're all in the same house and there's grandparents who are still physically able to watch the grandchildren. They should encourage the couple, the younger couple doing most of the caregiving, the parents, to go out in a safe way during COVID, whether it's just to go out for ice cream or just spend time alone. Do a date night, a COVID-friendly date night, if you want to call it that, just so that they have time one-on-one alone away from the kids, as well as time away from each other and the house, because that will go a long way in helping avoid unnecessary conflict. Because it starts off as a small thing, it builds into something bigger, and it can be stopped if we give each other the breaks we need. It's all about what marriage is about. In the Quran, what God says is rahma and mawadda, love and mercy. And we need a lot of love and mercy to get through this time. And all of us, not just married couples, but even older parents, older children who can help their parents, everybody needs to have that love and mercy for each other to get through this difficult time, so we can avoid situations like domestic violence and misunderstanding and miscommunication that in the long run will destroy our families and our communities.
One of the things that's important to remember too is that children had a lot of social support in school settings. Many of them that didn't have enough food got meal programs. Many of them that needed counseling of any sort got assistance there. Many of them that needed assistance with tutoring or different learning styles got support there. Some could even talk to a counselor about abuse that was going on in their homes. this doesn't happen anymore when kids are away from those support resources. So it is a very challenging time on the mental health front for parents and also children. And to couple what Samana was saying, remember, we didn't used to have to schedule time away from each other because parents went outside of the home to work. Many of them are working from home now. And so if you need a break, you have to schedule it if everybody is in the home together. And you didn't have to do that before. Maybe some people will think that there's something wrong with that. Maybe they're worried about someone being offended, their spouse or their children being offended by that. But this is how we keep ourselves mentally strong. And again, when we're mentally strong as individuals, that supports a strong family.
What about also within home, if you have enough space at home, designating spaces for different things? I mean, normally Muslim home, people have, okay, this is our permanent place for prayer. What about a permanent place where the, screen time together will taking place, or class educational space, and the separate space? Normally for food, there is a separate space. And then there is a mix and match of that also, that, okay, today class will take place on the dining table.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think moving spaces will also bring a variety and break the monotony? Because children, I mean, when I talk to children, I mean, they're bored to death with this screen education.
Mm-hmm. Mixing it up is important, however you can mix it up, I think. But again, some kids really like the stability of having the same thing every day. Other kids really like being able to flex and move around, and you have to read your children that way, and you have to read yourself. My husband may like one thing, I may like something different. We all live in the same house. We have to figure out ways to work with that. And many times parents and families who have more money and more resources have more opportunity and flexibility here. If I have a very small apartment, we're all on top of each other anyway. There's only so far we can move to distance ourselves from one another, right? To get our own separate space. So you have to be creative. If you, I don't know, are you going to libraries now in Chicago and Maryland? Our libraries are now open.
Yeah,
They weren't open throughout the summer, but a library can be a space. You don't have to pay for a library. You go to a library, you separate into different sections. You look at the things that you like to look at. You could go to a park. The kids can play in one area, and the parents can sit and talk quietly, together, but outside of the earshot of children, because children are focused in a different area. It's all about maximizing the resources we have access to.
What about, in a school, they had a whole system of rewarding children, and a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and the decoration of classroom, and any ideas if some of those things could be replicated at home?
Yeah. We are using our Colors of Islam and our Adams World Club classes to do tons of arts and crafts activities. And these are designed to be able to produce visual reminders that can be set up all over the house. Reminders about being thankful, reminders about making prayer, or our role, even we did one yesterday about being vice-garants of the earth. What does that mean? Well, the teacher, Sister Miriam, had the kids create a globe, a picture of the earth. And if you put that on your refrigerator or put that in your room, then it's a reminder every time you look at it about the lesson of us taking care of the planet,
I know some homeschoolers actually do this. I know a friend of mine who's homeschooling, and she has a part of her basement which she will make like a classroom. So she would design it, she would decorate it. I mean, nothing fancy, but the kind of things that you were suggesting, that, for example, if it's Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, so then that the board will be covered in things, essays about that, or writings about that, or pictures about that. Or if it's some other topic or some other occasion, it would be changed accordingly. So parents can do that. It's very easy to get the material for that. And even if you live in a small apartment, just designating this is our learning area, and we can mix it up like you suggested. and decorating it and changing it. And having the kids, it's very important to get the kids involved with this, have them do it. It shouldn't be just the parent doing everything. And older children helping the younger siblings as well. That's very critical as well, to make sure that nobody is burdened with too much work.
Sahira, you mentioned Colors of Islam classes and Adam's World classes. Could you describe what age group are the Colors of Islam class? When do they take place?
Sure. The Adams World Club is designed for kids who are 4 to 7 years old, and we do daily programming during the weekdays, Monday through Fridays. The class starts promptly at 4 o'clock, that's Eastern Daylight Time, and ends, it's a half-an-hour show at 4:30. We do storytelling, we read books, we have music segments, we have movement segments, we even have a new cooking segment with one of our teachers. And so it's a wonderful way of kids connecting to someone who is focusing their attention on Islam. The Colors of Islam Club is a show or a class that runs on Saturday and Sunday for 1 hour from 12 to 1 Eastern Daylight Time again. We have 2 hosts for that programming, and they use humor and, again, storytelling. They use stories from the Seerah to focus attention on the kinds of things that kids from 8 to 12 might be running into, and ways of looking at those challenges, again, from an Islamic perspective. So these are online programming tools. And again, if your child is tired of being online, it's a different type of opportunity, an opportunity to engage with Muslims. Now, remember, many kids, many of our Muslim children, sometimes are the only Muslims in their classes. And so when that happens, there's a level of isolation from people who are like themselves. In these platforms, the kids can be with other Muslim children who are, again, looking at the world from the value system that we have and the guidance that we've been provided.
You're watching Muslim Network TV, and this conversation is brought to you by Sound Vision, which also operates Muslim Network TV, and we're on Galaxy 19 satellite, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, Roku, and our own website, muslimnetwork.tv. But if you go on soundvision.com, this is where both of our guests today write articles. What you have on soundvision.com is applied aspect of Islamic living. Tip-oriented articles, how you handle, for example, both of them issued 5-6 articles just yesterday. So you can subscribe to SoundVision newsletter by going to soundvision.com and benefit from this article and share with your neighbors. There is a lot of wisdom and lot of expertise which goes into developing this material. So parenting and education, this is where people talk about it at soundvision.com. And then there are Colors of Islam classes, there are Adam's World classes, and there is an app, adamsworldapp.com. Adamsworldapp.com, it will have Adam's World, and regularly every week you'll find new things. So Sound Vision is a center of Islamic education, but we also consider that it cannot be all education. So it is interest, to maintain children's interests. It has enough fun, enough connection with them, interactivity, and master teachers who are sincerely trying to help teachers, parents, as well as students. So this is all available to you. You can visit soundvision.com or adamsworldapp.com, and you will find all this information there. Thank you so much.
Can I mention also just a plug for the Adams World app? This is a great tool for teachers also, and that means parents who are teaching. There are tons of Adams World videos and other episodes, but also things like worksheets associated with those videos that extend the learning. So be sure to consider also subscribing to the Adams World app. We're building lots more information to make this a resource that is always at your fingertips.
Thank you. So thank you, Zahra Appard, and thank you, Samana Siddiqui. Zahra Appard is Director of Religious Education at Sound Vision. Samana Siddiqui has been a Content Manager at Sound Vision. Thank you, Dr. Abdul Wahid, for producing today's show, assisted by Sherdil Khan. Welcome, Sherdil Khan, to Muslim Network TV. Peace. Salam.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.